So there's this Netflix movie we have no choice but to discuss. The sadly misnamed Cuties. Our protagonist, Amy, is an 11-year-old in a conservative Muslim family in France. She is enticed and bullied by a clique of young dancers whom she is eventually able to join. Throughout the movie, Amy has only one expression on her face, that of naive, confused curiosity. It gets old. We get it. The director is telling us without subtlety that young girls are nothing if not vulnerable to peer pressure, culture, or anything else you put in front of them. On the other hand, the other girls didn't get the memo. They were into this shit from the beginning and stayed one-dimensional. So there's some drama and some dancing and yada yada yada. We get the final dance competition. This part I found just plain funny. The girls had been in front of judges before, but this was their first public audience. The public was not enthused. There was no market for the dirt they were selling. It breaks your heart. Then we have an ending shot of her jumping rope wearing jeans and a hoodie and smiling for the first time. It screams r/enlightened centrism. Jeans being the middle ground between the only two previous fashion options of either conservative Muslim dress or, being
You slut dragon! You slut!
Chill out, dude.
Okay, that's slut! You don't have to... Shame on you! Shame!
The director, whose name I have no interest in trying to pronounce, is certainly more anti than pro-sexual freedom. She should then be pleased that there are congressional calls for her movie to be the subject of a DOJ investigation. Damn it, T-Gabs. There was a time when we had a sliver of hope for you. God damn, because if there's one thing America needs, it's more right-wing, anti-sex state violence. I've got news for you. The answer isn't enlightened centrism, and it certainly isn't authoritarianism in the form of censorship against females and violence against males. The answer is for everyone to get over themselves and stop concerning themselves in the least with other people's sexuality. If you want to wear a burqa, you do you. If you want to be a slut, you do you. None of it makes a lick of difference. You're all just talking apes on a primitive planet no one cares about. You're all going to die. If you could just spend your miserable lives flinging a little less poo at each other in the meantime, you might be just a little better off. Good Lord, grow up. And the irony of these people telling me that young people are too immature to consent. Maybe if you weren't showing your fangs while holding a fistful of dung, you would have some credibility on the subject of maturity. The Hill did a brief discussion on Cuties, wherein Crystal and Sagar gave us a small ray of sanity, questioning whether or not this was just another moral panic, akin to phobia about rap music or video games.
And then the other part of this that Sagar's getting to is what is the effect of film on behavior and culture on behavior? Because we had this sort of moral panic in the 90s and the 80s about rap music is too explicit, and there was a whole conversation about that. There's a whole moral panic about video games. Are they too violent? Are they encouraging violence? There was a moral panic about the movie The Joker, right? Remember, this was going to create vigilantes in the street, and that didn't end up happening. I mean, in all of those cases, there wasn't actually data to support that the cultural piece or the film or the art or whatever it was led to a real change in behavior. So what is the overall data there that you've looked into?
The anti-sex conservative they interviewed, who was caked in makeup for irony, didn't answer the question at all, and instead rambled about the need for more parental involvement in general. I could, of course, argue this is just another form of softer, closer to home authoritarianism. She then got dumber.
For the sake of objectivity, I'm willing to believe that she wanted to critique the sexualization of children. Let's just go with that. It didn't end up happening because you still have these girls performing these dances and dressed in these ways, and you still have this movie product that is fodder for pedophiles, as experts have been telling me. I spoke with a bunch of experts last week, who told me this is actually fodder for a lot of exploitation online, and this is exactly the type of thing that they try and fight every day.
Listen, lady, I'm the expert. Judith Levine is the expert. James Cantor is the expert. Anyone you talk to is a monkey in a suit who, like yourself, is governed by an emotional response programmed in by their indoctrination. Look how terrified you are that someone, somewhere, might get a thrill from this softcore movie. Think about that. That's your justification for authoritarianism. Someone needs to take a look at what's wrong with your brain that you think this is a worthwhile place to spend the limited number of fucks you have to give. Aw shit, somebody did. There were a few decent comments on this Hill piece, but of course the best was, anyone who thinks the state should have any role in regulating sexual norms has the brain of a turd. This guy gets it. I found another reviewer who comes dangerously close to getting it himself. I thus recommend his video. It begins with things like,
right off the bat, just first impressions regarding the controversy. This film does try to make you sexually aroused by 11-year-olds. And I'll say it's not bad at it. It's not a total failure in that regard, at least for me. Your mileage may vary. I want to say that if you are concerned about people treating this as child pornography, there are probably thousands of people masturbating to this film as we speak. As far as like sexy music videos go, it's not bad. Are we live? Is this live? Oh, trigger warning. Honesty.
Fuck, that reminds me. Let's just say there's a general blanket trigger warning that applies to all of my videos. I mean, imagine wasting your time making a video to express a majority opinion that doesn't trigger anyone. The fuck would be the point of that?
And it's real. It's very realistic. I don't know if you've ever heard of the app TikTok. There's some pretty interesting stuff on there that I've checked out, and I recommend you check it out. Girls of all ages are dancing like, and guys are dancing like this. Dances have become more explicitly sexual. But then, I listen to everybody saying these things, and I think we just sound the same as like old fogies did in the 50s and 60s.
Interestingly enough, The Hill made the same TikTok observation. Maybe, just maybe, you're not exploiting children if it's something they do on their own anyway.
And how do we... Children are horny. Little girls are horny, and they want to express that. And we aren't sure how to handle that kind of graceless transition from being 9 to being 13 or 14 or 16. And this film is all about zooming in on that.
So well said. Our current norms have decided to handle it with denial and authoritarianism. I've decided to handle it with live and let live. Unfortunately, the end of this gentleman's video took a feminist turn. He's far more concerned with the development and transition of young girls than he is with the fascist crackdown on the older kids they seduce. My experience trying to blend in with the Savannah apes has been a constant reminder that we cannot draw a line at 18, or any other age, and say that people on one side of it are fragile and developing and need to be protected with state violence, while people on the other side are fixed and malevolent and need to be punished with state violence. Back to the movie itself. It is overall meh. And yeah, personally, older girls would have been nicer. Overall, it's a good thing as it gets us talking a little more and denying reality a little less. As always, be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe. What's that? Oh, I'm being told some of you will dislike.